Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of True Crime Drunks. I am your host, Wes McBee, and without me today is Holly Lee. We are starting our venture into weekly episodes and bi-weekly episodes of solo episodes. So I am taking the reins today for the first solo episode. I'm super excited. Now I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone because I haven't ever done a solo talk podcast, anything along that situation before. So I hope it goes well. And I'm super excited to talk about my topic today, which is the murder of Michael Francke. Now, this is a murder that is shrouded in mystery, espionage, framing, drug lords, drug pin lords, bigger picture, like who knows how big of the villains in this situation could be. It is quite an overwhelming story that really is. It's kind of disappointing in a way. Like the results of what happened were disappointing. Obviously, a man was murdered, but the person who served almost a whole life sentence, we come to find out, may have been framed by a bigger group of individuals who are much more scary than we may think. So we're gonna jump right into it. As you can see on my screen, this is a picture of Michael Francke. He was a badass. He really was. Let me pull up. I'm going to be looking. I have my research notes, but I also want to make sure I get dates and everything done. Um, he was a judge in New Mexico who was very hard nosed and pretty much um, was known for his ability to reform prisons. And he got a call from and this is in 1975, he was admitted to New Mexico, where he was the corrections department. He served and pretty much made that prison completely reformed. And then he served as a judge for 3 years, and then became the director of the New Mexico Department of Corrections. And this guy was a badass. He was a no shit type of guy. He went in and just changed the system, and he it's kind of sad talking about this one. He to me is one of those guys that r- really tried to do his best and really worked hard, and he ended up getting put in a situation that led to his murder, and it's very sad. So when he kind of built this reputation for himself, it allowed for his name to spread across the country. And this is in 1975 when he was admitted into the New Mexico Corrections Department. He then was he served as the he served until 1980, and that's when he became a judge. And then 3 years later, he went back and became the director of New Mexico's Department of Corrections. Well, up in Oregon, Salem, Oregon, the it was seeing one of its worst times as a prison. There was drugs running rampant, killings, the whole nine, and he got hired on. So in 1980, he was hired as a prison director. Or excuse me, in 1987, Governor Neil Goldschmidt asked Michael to take over the state's troubled prison. Um, there was rumors of a drug pin that was running out of the prison, like a ginormous drug pin, and it was, I mean, we're talking, it was feeding a lot of different people across the Northwest area. This wasn't just like they were sneaking in some meth or some heroin or some weed. No, 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 no. They were running drugs through that prison. The guards were invested in that situation. It was pretty much a situation where no one was doing the right thing. Everyone was involved in the drugs, and you can't blame them, right? There was so much money. Well, you can't blame them. There was so much money involved. There was so much fear in my eyes. I feel like there was a lot of fear that was involved, and everyone just kind of had to go with the flow of this drug pin. Well, that was until Michael Francke got hired. On January 17th, or excuse me, he got hired and then worked for about a couple years, and he was really trying to reform. There's rumors that he had found the source of what was going on in this prison. Um, and he was trying to stop and trying to. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words because I'm super nervous doing this by myself. He was trying to basically find out who was in charge of this drug pin and make them responsible for everything that was going on. Um, Sadly, we're going to get into the darker side of things, which was after working for a lot. Yeah, no shit, smooth man. After working for a while, on January 17th of 1989, Michael Francke was found stabbed to death outside his office door. Before his unfortunate passing, Francke had told family members that he was working on a top secret investigation into the drug trafficking that was going on through the prison. And he was planning on hiring multiple high level officials to help in busting the ring. And this information did get out, and this is what more than likely had led to his murder. Now that I found my research, I can just finally look at my research and go through it. The police believe that the murder happened due to a robbery gone wrong. Now, what the police report said is Michael Francke had left his office building and had seen multiple people trying to get into his parked car, right, in like a robbery type situation. And when Michael Francke ran over to, get them to stop or engage, they pulled a knife and stabbed him multiple times. Um, Here's the thing. His family and many other people think that he was killed because of the information he uncovered during his investigation, and not due to a robbery gone wrong. During Michael's investigations, he spoke with multiple guards who claim they have had brought drugs, weapons, and other illegal items to the prison. He was piling up evidence to fight this case against the higher ups. Obviously, you have to have overwhelming evidence, especially if you're going to be bringing down multiple people who are not prisoners who are involved in this drug ring. And he wanted to clean out all the employees and officials who were. It's on record that on January 13th of 1989, 4 days before his death, he spoke with his sister-in-law that he was going to go in front of the legislative with a full plan to pitch his clean-out idea. And this was literally cleaning house. All the officials, all the guards, anyone in the prison department, they're getting cleaned out. New people are coming in, and shit's gonna get better because he just knew. He knew that everyone was working for the drug pen. There was so much money, there were so many drugs, there were so many weapons, there was so much evil coming through. The only way to do it is completely clean it out. And think about it. Of course, people are going to be pissed off. Of course, people aren't going to sit there and let this new guy come in and, you know, clean up this drug ring, make all the money disappear, make all the prisoners, who knows what they're doing on the outside through however, whatever means. You're not just going to let that end. People aren't just going to let that end. He told his sister he was concerned with the things that he had found. And when Michael was found on the day of his murder, there was shattered glass from a pane of the building, and his briefcase was missing. So this starts the whole dive into the conspiracy of his murder. Okay. The fact is that someone had broken in or attempted to break in and find whatever information that Michael Francke has on them and stole it. Um, Detectives went out on investigating. They went out to start investigating people of interest, drug dealers, street criminals, and different things like that. When a man claimed to have seen small-time drug dealer Frank Gable. Oh, sorry. Let me go through my slides here so you guys can see a little bit better here. So that's the Oregon State Penitentiary. This is where Michael Francke's car and body were found, and that is his one of his brothers. It's super sad, guys. I mean, it really is a sad situation and a sad story, but that is the place where he was found. And this is Frank Gable. Now, Frank Gable was a petty drug dealer, real small time, like slinging super small amount of maybe weed and maybe some other things, but he was definitely not a big time guy. So these street people, these street criminals, claimed that they saw Frank Gable there, and of course, Gable was soon arrested and charged in the murder of Michael, in a car robbery gone wrong. Um, Now, not only did Frank Gable deny this, a lot of Michael Francke's family had their doubts that this was the person who murdered Michael. Francke's family had claimed that not only did Michael's car have an alarm system on it that would have gone off if they were breaking into it, but there was no evidence of forced entry into the car, and there was also no blood at where his car was. So if Michael was stabbed, obviously there would be blood, right? And there would be a blood trail to where his body was left. So there's no the evidence doesn't make sense. So let's start painting the bigger picture, right? Which leads us to conspiracy time. The bigger picture here. Let's say Michael Francke has evidence to get all these people out. Okay. Obviously, these people aren't going to be happy about that situation. They're going to want to take Francke out. Okay. Now, let's fast forward to the day of his murder. Sounds like, to me personally, someone tried to break in to his office. Michael was there, put up some sort of struggle, and he was murdered. And all of the evidence of the wrongdoings in the criminal system were taken. I mean, it's interesting. Now we're going to get into some other theories on why there was no blood there. What I think and what the overwhelming majority thinks is that he was taken by force, maybe in like a van or something like that, to a spot where either he was, threatened to drop it or, I don't want to say torture, but maybe he was, but taken somewhere to try and get him to drop all of this evidence, to drop his case, to move on, whatever it might be. He told them no, or he fought back, and they took him out and then returned him to the location, set up this whole situation, framed Frank Gable, and I mean, if they don't have any names, or if it's a bigger picture where all the detectives are also working in this drug ring, easy frame, right? Who's Frank Gable? Some petty drug dealer. Okay. Well, if we just say that he does it, it's his word versus the criminal justice system. He's not going to win. Now, families and others following the story truly didn't buy into what they were being told about the murder of Michael. They believed that it was a murder brought on by Michael's hard work and investigation and fixing the prison. And one eyewitness has evidence to push this point. During the morning hours of the 17th, the eyewitness saw 6 or 7 men running from the scene of the crime. Michael's family had a theory that he was abducted during the night of his murder while going to his car, where these 6 or 7 men took him to an unknown location to threaten him or push him to stop the investigation. So that's what his family thought, which is the overwhelming theory that everyone agrees upon on the internet. Then, upon returning him, they stabbed and killed him on the porch and went in to collect his briefcase and sensitive documents. These men could have potentially been the ones running the drug and weapons ring in the prison, and the idea of a cover-up seems to be a big debate on the internet. I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem like that big of a shock, right? Depending on the money value of the drugs and the weapons that we're talking, if it's a big time deal, there's a lot of very powerful people who will make sure not to let it stop. I mean, when pockets are getting fed with lots of money, people aren't okay if someone tries to stop that. We see that today all over the place. Like, people aren't just going to step away and be like, well, I guess he's got us. It's one man versus who knows how many. One other big piece of evidence is many people witnessing a man in a pinstripes. Now, this is the crazy part, okay? Many people inside the prison witnessed a man in a pinstripe suit that had entered Michael's office after his passing. And when he went into his office, he was in there for a while and then left. No one asked questions. No one knew who this man was. Went into Michael's office and then left. Now, if we want to get into our conspiracy time, our Charlie Day, you know, trying to pin everything together, whoever this man was had enough power to walk into Michael's office, which was at, I believe, the Oregon State Department or Capitol Department, walk into his office and rummage through all of his sensitive documents and leave. And after people went in there, no documents were found. No, not a single document or piece of evidence of Michael's investigation into the prison. All gone. Like, that sounds like a goddamn movie scene to me, right? That some man in a pinstripe suit walked in, didn't say shit, went into his office, found everything, hit him with the deuces, walked out, never to be found. I mean, come on, guys. Like, this is 100% some sort of bigger picture, some sort of big conspiracy cover-up picture for a drug ring. I mean, it's just crazy. So, it's crazy to me, right? Like, Michael was a hardworking man, very successful in other prison reforms. He doesn't just misplace documents. He doesn't just like, oh, I guess I left them somewhere on accident. That just doesn't happen. This guy was on top of his shit. It's crazy. So, on to Frank Gable. Kind of put a little bit of a spoiler on screen before we got there, but that's okay. So, the alleged murder. A witness had put Frank Gable at the scene of the crime right at the perfect time. And to recap, the official story is Michael had come out of his car, found Gable breaking into it, some sort of scuffle happened, and Frank Gable stabbed and killed Michael Francke and left the scene. A few hours after the murder, Frank and a friend had been seen or caught throwing something into a river. They don't really know what. Through a bag which apparently had clothes in it and another object. Witnesses claim that Frank had confessed to the murder. He allegedly threatened family and witnesses, and he'd kill them if they said anything. And Frank's wife claimed he was abusive toward her and liked knives. After all this, Frank was arrested and charged with Michael's murder and sentenced to life in prison. Frank Gable's on record saying that he did get into a complicated drug ring, but was unaware of how complicated it was until being arrested for something he never confessed to. Okay, so more conspiracy talk. All right, these people who witnessed him are all other drug dealers or people in criminal activity. It is later found out that Frank Gable's wife confessed to lying about him being abusive and the knife thing. Kind of a shocker, huh? It's weird. It's almost like, someone paid her. Him talking about a complicated drug ring, like I said, he was a petty drug dealer. He pushed very small numbers. Kind of seems to me like maybe he knew about this Michael Francke thing. Maybe he did have a small part in it, but and I say small part, I mean maybe he knew of what was going on but didn't actually have any involvement. I don't think he did any of the murdering. I don't think he was there the day he was murdered. I think if anything, maybe he went and talked to people about it. I don't know. I don't think he did a single thing in my eyes. Now, let's talk about a different individual named John Krause. Kraus or Krause. He confessed to the murder. But the jury for this trial never heard this confession, and his defense never used it. Which, like I'm saying, we're doing our Charlie Day trying to tie everything together in this crazy situation. A man confessed to this murder. The jury never heard this confession. And Frank Gable's defenders never told the judge of this confession. I mean, what? Um, Federal public defenders have argued that John Corso, I don't know how to pronounce his name, a Salem man who was on parole for a robbery at the time, repeatedly confessed to murdering Oregon Prison's director Michael Francke, telling numerous law enforcement officers as well as his own mother, brother, and girlfriend that he stabbed Francke when he caught Corse burglarizing his car on January 17th of 1989. Corse's confession, they said, was was consistent with the crime scene and autopsy evidence. But this was never heard, ever. His Michael Francke's defenders, or excuse me, Frank Gable's defense attorneys didn't talk about it. The jury didn't know anything about this. Is this a bigger thing? Is this a bigger picture, a bigger conspiracy, a bigger drug ring than we may know about? All right. Now, with his confession being consistent with the crime scene, there was also a eyewitness testimony, and this confession was considered truthful by an FBI polygrapher who was flown in from out of state to test him. So, confession, eyewitness testimony, FBI polygrapher. No one knew about it. Why? Why didn't one single person know that this was going on? That this confession happened, that someone stepped forward and said, hey, I fucking did it. It's crazy. All right, so in court, Assistant Federal Public Defender Nell Brown played an audio of Corse confessing to his brother during a record phone call from jail on April 5th. He called it just a freak accident, saying he had gotten in Francke's car and Francke found him and had asked him what he was doing. I just tried to hit him where I could knock him out. The next thing I know, I stabbed the guy, stabbed him in the heart and the arm. Corse had told his brother, I didn't intend to kill the guy. Well, kind of weird, huh? Kind of weird that we have a confession. But we also have... So, let's tie in the big things that we have here. Either Frank Gable did it, which I doubt. Francke was taken by multiple people and then brought back dead and his briefcase stolen, which is what I think. Or this John guy was either also a part of the bigger picture, this bigger drug ring, and wanted to confess to make sure nothing got in the way, or he really did it and he just went crazy. I'm more on the side of, because there wasn't blood at the scene where he was apparently stabbed, and there was no blood in the car. Okay, so, and if you stab someone while he's in the car and punch him, there's going to be blood in the car. Okay, now if this John Corse guy did it, maybe what happened is he broke into the car and there was a scuffle, and then maybe, I don't know, Michael tried to fight back but couldn't and then got stabbed outside of his car. I don't know, but it just doesn't make sense to me that if this quote is correct, I just tried to hit him where I could knock him out. The next thing I know, I stabbed the guy. I stabbed him in the heart and the arm. I didn't intend to kill the guy, but he said that it was in his car. So where's the blood in the car? It just doesn't make sense to me. All right, now let's fast forward 30 years later to June 28th of 2019, as you can see on my screen. Friday morning, after nearly 30 years, Gable walked out of the Lansing prison in Kansas, where he's been serving time for his murder conviction. A federal judge ordered Gable released after finding that evidence was wrongly kept from jurors during Gable's trial for Michael Francke's murder. Gable talked briefly right after his release. This is a direct quote. Just thankful to the judge for exonerating me and just really looking at the case, finally. Seeing really what happened, with the state police and the DA's office, said Gable. They did a lot of dirty stuff. It's just real emotional. That was what he said when he was interviewed after getting out of prison for 30 years of his life. In their court petition on Gable's behalf, attorneys specifically cited investigations interview with John Krause, writing that Krause began sobbing and eventually admitted he had killed Michael Francke. It was among the evidence that the federal judge ruled jurors should have heard but didn't. Michael Francke's brother backed Frank Gable's claim of innocence. And Kevin Francke called Gable's release bittersweet, of course. He was quoted saying he's out now, but he's still guilty since he has not yet been cleared of his murder conviction. And that's where the bitterness comes in. Is that the Department of Justice, if they want justice, they would drop the appeal and say we don't have anything. They don't have one piece of physical evidence. They have no witnesses. They have nothing. In talks about Frank Gable being charged for Michael Francke's murder. He's thrilled beyond belief, excited, happy for Frank, said another of Michael Francke's brothers, Patrick Francke. He says, I'm not afraid of anything because I wasn't there. My DNA cannot be there. He has a valid alibi today. Oregon's Department of Justice released a statement that said Mr. Gable has been released pending the state's appeal. The state's appeal is still pending. And I believe to this day, let me see. I believe still to this day that he is technically still charged, but has cases coming up. There's a petition you can sign. 4,611-ish people have signed to try and say that he should be free. And I do agree. I think that Frank Gable, whether or not he was there, I don't think he was there. I don't think that he knew about the murder when it was going on, and I don't think that he was. I don't think he was working for anyone. That I think if he was in this drug ring, like he says he was more than likely just like the guy at the bottom of the totem pole, right? The guy who like, hey, Frank, we need you to deal some pot to the locals. I don't know how drug rings work. I'm, of course, not a part of one. But I think he was just really low level dude, maybe making some extra money to survive or whatever that looks like. I don't think that he was in a position of setting up a whole entire con to kill Michael Francke. And I don't think that he was trying to break into his car. I mean, who the fuck breaks into a car at a goddamn office building of the government? There's better places. There's less risky places to do that. That's like the crazy part about it is why would you go out of your way unless you had an ulterior motive to go and rob from a goddamn government building? Am I right or am I right? Like, it just doesn't make a single lick of sense. If I was wanting to rob cars, the last place that I'm going to go is where government officials or police frequent, right? Like, there's plenty of neighborhoods that are very quiet where cars would be easily broken into without any fuss. I mean, it's just crazy. And as for this pinstriped suit guy, sounds like a goddamn 1920s mobster movie, there's still no evidence. No one knows what that is or who that is or why that happened. My best guess is that there is some sort of situation where whoever this man is that was able to walk into Michael Francke's office is obviously someone on someone's payroll, right? or he is running something bigger than just a typical guy. I mean, to be able to walk into a man's office and to rummage through it seems a little strange unless you are in a position of power. Or he was known by these guards. He was known by whoever was there at the facility at the time. Like, I don't think that he was just a random dude from the street. If I were to give you guys my personal opinion, right? An innocent man in Michael Francke who was doing his goddamn best job was killed for that. Whether or not he got in over his head, that's a whole different conversation. Maybe I don't think that the guy who hired him is at fault. He obviously knew there was some crazy shit going on and wanted the best of the best, and that's what he got. He found Michael Francke and he came in, and it sounds like Michael Francke had enough evidence to try and at least fight back. And when he fought back, he was sadly on the losing end, and he just wasn't he didn't need to be murdered, sadly. And I also believe that Frank Gable is innocent. I think Frank Gable was set up. I believe that he was a low man in a shitty situation and an easy scapegoat. Do I think that maybe some of the detectives and some of the defense attorneys may have been on some sort of payroll? Maybe. And what I mean by that, were they getting paid off to share certain evidence versus not sharing some? Yeah, I do. I truly do. Because this isn't something new that goes on. This shit goes on all the time. I mean, people get paid off to look in other directions all the time for shit. I mean, our I hate to say it, but it's pretty obvious nowadays that our criminal justice and different departments of the government are not the best. They're not looking out for what's best for people, and they're padded by lots and lots of dollars. Um, yeah, I think Frank Gable's innocent. I think Michael Francke was murdered um, by whoever was running this drug ring, um, and I think that they knew that he had more evidence on them than they would like. They took him out. They got that evidence, and they left. And whoever's in that position after him, just either they hired him or they just did. The guy who took his position after just was like, well, can't do anything about it because I don't want to die. And it's very unfortunate. It's a very scary situation. I don't know what the prison's like nowadays. I would hope that it's reformed because this happened in 1989, so we've had more than 40 some odd years, 30 some odd years to get this shit together. But I I would be hard pressed to believe that this doesn't go on a lot of different places and we just don't know about it. And thankfully, this Michael Francke's story has been a topic of a lot of different true crime related podcasts and content across the internet as of the past I don't know 4 or 5 years. I remember I came across this story about 2 years ago. I talked about it on my other podcast, and it got a lot of reception. And then it got picked up by a couple of the big true crime shows. And when I teamed up with Holly to do this show, I've always been waiting to talk about this one because I think it's extremely fascinating, and I think that there is a lot more details to be uncovered in this one. And I'm sure that a lot of other people who have researched it may have found other interesting things. So if my outlook on it interests you, I'm sure there's others out there that will do the same thing. This last picture is Michael Francke's two brothers, and at a little memorial of where Francke was murdered in cold blood. It's sad to see. It's a picture that's hard to look at just because you're like, damn, that's a guy who worked super hard his whole life was taken out because he worked hard. And it's a bummer of a reality, but sometimes that's how it plays out, especially when going into that realm of evil. But that's gonna do it for me and my episode this week. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. Like I said, our new setup is going to be bi-weeklies. We're going to do an episode together, and then we're going to do episodes solo. So I'm starting the first solo episode. Next week we'll be back where we will be covering shit. I forgot. I think we're covering Ed Gein, and then the week after that Holly will be doing her solo episode. And I let me see if I had saved what she mentioned she was going to talk about. I don't. I didn't save it. But I think that she's doing something pretty cool. I think it's psychology or not psychology. Jesus, my brain's kind of fried. But I think that she's going to be involved, or she's going to do a cool solo episode, and then the week after that we'll be back together, and then the week following that will be another solo. So you can kind of see the idea. And here on Twitch, I gotta thank everyone who's been following us. I am not quite sure where you're coming from, but we really appreciate it. I mean, we've had. Let me pull up my numbers because it blows my mind. Um, Gosh, one second. We missed last week because I was supposed to do my solo episode, and I couldn't connect. I had everything set up ready to go, and my computer would not connect to Twitch's servers for some reason. I just so we missed it. But between that episode, or between our last episode, which was two, so 2.5 weeks ago, we have received 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 followers here on Twitch, putting us at a grand total of 76, which is just beyond amazing. Like, I don't know where you guys are finding us, but we appreciate it, and we will definitely do our best to keep pushing out quality content for you guys and everyone who listens to this on YouTube or Anchor or Spotify or iTunes. I we love you guys. It's great. Where you're making our dreams look more and more like a reality every day, and we hope that we can continue to create awesome content for you, and have fun doing it and have fun being silly with it. And oh, I closed off my audio. That's okay. I'm about to wrap up. Let me open this back up here so I can close out the show. I don't know why this doesn't want to open for me. There we go. There we go. But yeah, we will be back next Saturday, 3 to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time to do our together episode. And I can't remember what we're going to cover. That's bad. I mean, I have the research ready to go. I just don't remember if it's Ed Gein or if we're doing another cult. Either way, I will make sure to post on social media that when we're going live. And if you guys want to reach out to us, truecrimedrunks@gmail.com. Check out our website. It's truecrimedrunks.com. And we are True Crime Drunks everywhere on social media. And our Instagram, we post about different serial killers across the world, and it will be more active. Our YouTube has our previous episodes along with obviously everywhere podcasts can be listed. I don't want to go through that. I'm sure everyone listening already knows where you can find them. And yeah, we're actually, the other big thing is we're pushing for affiliate here live on Twitch for we want to be able to get to that. That will be a big milestone for us. Hopefully by the end of this month or the early next month, we'll be able to fill out the application for that and become Twitch affiliate, which would be a lot of fun. gives us a little bit more room to do certain things, as well as people can support us on the Twitch channel at that point. And I would that would be an awesome goal reached. So thank you everyone that's been following. Thank you for everyone that's been listening. Again, I'm Wes McBee with True Crime Drunks, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.